If you've watched my last couple of videos, you will know that I have been doing this on YouTube now for 1 whole year. And throughout that year, I have been taking some wee notes of things that I wish I knew when I'd started. So I thought I would share those with you today. I've broken my thoughts down into 3 categories. First category is general principles and thoughts. Second category is where to start. And third category is kind of practicalities and technical stuff. So I think the first couple of things would be interesting for anybody who's got an interest in booktube and YouTube to hear. But perhaps the practicalities and stuff, if you don't have a YouTube channel and if you're not interested in starting one in the near future, you can just pull off at that point. So I'll do that bit at the very end. My first general principle is do it. I have 0 regrets about starting this channel. I did it at a time in life when I needed a little something to occupy my brain and my interest that wasn't my work, because that was a bit of a dumpster fire at the time. So that's what led me to take the plunge when I did. But yeah, 0 regrets. So if you are somebody who's thinking about starting a YouTube channel, if you are somebody who's thinking about starting a booktube channel, my advice to you is do it. Another general principle, and something that I think has been helpful for me to bear in mind, is that unless you are Ben Reed's good, you are not going to be putting out really slick, polished content from day one, and it's okay to just accept that. I would really encourage you to experiment, be curious, have fun, be playful in your creation, and celebrate your imperfections. Now, I will caveat this point with the fact that I mentioned this to Ben recently, because he doesn't see it that way. He still gets anxious in front of the camera, much like I do. And so maybe there's a lesson in that too, in that perhaps what we see isn't what the creator is feeling, and therefore we can also say what we're feeling isn't necessarily what people are seeing. So when I'm feeling awkward and anxious in front of the camera, maybe that's not what's translating, and we can all bear that in mind as a good lesson. And the third general principle of starting out on booktube is that people are kind. I don't really know what I was expecting, but probably the most so out of all of the different corners of social media that I have been in and out of in different guises, whether it's been in education, whether it's been on Twitter, which is now X, whether it's been on wellbeing spaces, whether it's been on bookish spaces on Instagram. Booktube is by far the friendliest, most welcoming, least cliquey. People really are so kind. Now on to my next section, which is where to start. I looked at a few videos about starting YouTube channels before I got started, and one piece of advice, and I shamefully don't remember exactly where it came from, but one piece of advice that I stuck to and would like to pass on to you is to just start creating some videos and get some content on your channel. Do a soft launch, if you like, building up a bit of a back catalogue of videos so that when people do find your channel, they've got a few different things to look at to see if you're for them, is a really great way to get started. It also means that you get to do that thing of experimenting with different types of content and see what fits your vibe and what feels good for you to make as a creator. My next piece of advice is to set a schedule if you want to. We have to acknowledge that we are part of a bigger machine. YouTube is a social media enterprise, and so there is an algorithm in which we exist. But setting a realistic posting schedule has not only fed the algorithm gods, but it's also set some boundaries for me. So I aim to post once a week. I share videos on a Tuesday at the same time on the same day each week. There have been some weeks that I've missed, and I've been okay with that. But having that regular upload schedule, even if it's monthly or fortnightly or whatever works for you, means that you're feeding those algorithm gods. But it also means that you're not overstretching yourself. So I found this particularly helpful around Christmas, when loads of creators are bashing out loads of amazing content. People are doing Vlogmas and putting out videos every day, and there's a real sense of wanting to keep up with that. But actually I was able to remind myself that no, I post once a week and that's okay. So yeah, having a regular posting schedule and sticking to it is both helpful in terms of feeding the algorithm, but also keeping those boundaries about what's realistic for you too. Now my next point might seem a bit of a no-brainer, but not necessarily. So I hardly ever cross-pollinate content between here and Instagram. I've got a Bookstagram account too, but when I do, if I do ever share a video, a YouTube video over on Instagram, I inevitably always get one or two people showing an interest and asking questions and curious about wanting to kind of explore that for themselves, which is really lovely. And obviously my first piece of advice is the first piece of advice I shared on this video, and that's do it. But also what's become apparent through some of those conversations is that those people who are curious about starting their own channel perhaps don't watch YouTube already. So a really important piece of advice would be watch some videos. Watch YouTube, watch Booktube. And I say watch YouTube and Booktube because you might not want to be somebody who's posting the same type of content as everybody else. You might want to be that person. You might want to be the person that's posting wrap-ups and tags and reading vlogs and reading sprints and the stuff that's kind of intrinsic to Booktube, but you also might want to be a creator that explores doing things in slightly different ways. So watching different types of YouTube content can be really inspirational for that too. If you're not sure where to start on Booktube, I have two recommendations for you. The first is Charlotte at Coiny Reads. Charlotte this year has started posting monthly rewind videos to capture some of the stuff that's been going on Booktube. She's given shout outs to really interesting creators, she's highlighting really interesting and unique videos, and she's given you an idea of what's coming up in terms of readathons and that sort of thing that you might want to be aware of. So that's a really good place to start. The next great place to start is Ben at Ben Reads Good, who posts monthly bookish news videos. So if you want to stay slightly abreast of some of the prizes that are going on particular and anything of note that's going on in the bookish world, then Ben's channel is a great place to start too. And my last piece of advice for where to start is once you've got a handful of videos up on your channel of different bits and bobs that you think represent you as a creator, do the Booktube newbie tag. Loads of people search for that, looking for new booktubers to follow. People really want to support new booktubers, and there's a real appetite for looking out for and seeking out those smaller channels. So do the Booktube newbie tag, because people will come looking for new booktubers to follow via that. Okay, now moving on to some of the practicalities and technicalities that I've discovered the hard way. Now, my channel name, Bookish Adventures in Wellbeing, is a bit of a bloody mouthful and it's an iteration of something that started a long time ago in Adventures in Wellbeing as a blog and has moved through various different reincarnations as my interests have fluctuated and progressed. And so sticking bookish in front of that felt like the right way to identify myself on the internet, and that's okay. But what I quickly became aware of is as I'm interacting with other people on their channels and I'm joining live sprints and chats and plod alongs and different things, people don't know what to call you. Yeah, so one of the things that I did was I changed my channel handle to include my first name so that people know what to call me. You might not want people to know your name, and that's fine too, but if you want people to know your name and how to identify you, if it's not already part of your handle, maybe find a way to include it. The next really boring thing to point out, which I struggled with for quite some time, an embarrassingly long time actually, is how to get the hashtags shown at the top of videos. So I didn't know how to make these hashtags appear as if by magic. So let me save you the bother of trying to figure that out and tell you that if you just put hashtag in the body of your description text, it will show up in this area where hashtags are highlighted. Along the same vein, I struggled with links and inserting links into descriptions. Basically, you just need to make sure that your link starts with HTTPS, and that will ensure that the link works in your description. And talking of descriptions and hashtags and so on, in the Creator Studio desktop, there is a way to create a standard description, so one that will appear in all of your videos, and that will save you a little bit of time when you're uploading your videos. You don't need to add all of the bits about how to find you on social media or a standard thank you for watching or whatever it is that you might like to include there. I would also really recommend that you download the YouTube Creator Studio app. It's been really useful and I use it predominantly for responding to comments, because under the communities tab there's a really helpful place where it shows you any comments that you haven't responded to. And my last piece of practical advice, which I actually haven't followed for quite some time but really should, is to edit longer videos as you go. When I first started making vlogs, I would upload pieces of content as I went, and so the video would take shape over the course of the week or two that I was filming over. I don't do that now, and it's a pig to edit a big vlog when you've got loads of different captions, especially if you're someone like me that uses both their camera and their phone and uses their phone for other things obviously in between. It's a real fiddle to kind of like gather all of those clips together and form it into a video as one piece of work. That takes a lot of time, but you don't notice the amount of work that it takes if you're doing it little by little as you go. So that's a piece of advice from me to me and to you. So that's it. I thought I would just capture those few bits. Like I said, it's literally a notes app on my phone, if you can see, that says things I wish I knew starting Booktube, that I've been kind of adding to throughout the course of my first year, and I'll probably keep it and maybe add to it as I go. Maybe if I'm still here at the 5-year mark or something, I might have more wisdom to share. But if you are somebody who's curious about starting a Booktube channel, and you have questions, please feel free to ask any of us, because I know, like I said earlier, everybody is so kind on here. There is loads of space for new creators, and you would feel incredibly welcomed to this space. So if you're thinking about it, do it, and know that you have the full backing and support from loads of us over here. We'd love to have you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are looking after yourself, and I will see you again in the next video.